People are really excited for your session. I think that there's this focus on, okay, I want to create the most transformational community possible. How do I do it? And really looking forward to digging into your workshop today.
I am an open book, as you know, Alexis, so I am happy to share. And I will say I'm going to try to leave plenty of time for Q&A because I love the questions. So I'll try to keep the workshop pretty brief so we can just chat and go for it today.
Perfect. Yeah, feel free to share your screen. I'll stay with you here just until you get your slides up. I'll go off camera, let you riff, and then I'll come back on to help you with Q&A.
Okay, sounds great. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to head over to Canva. Luckily, it's live. I know there was a Cloudflare issue today. So what I'm going to dive in today for you guys is this idea of transformation, but also retention. So it's a bit of a 2-in-1 here. So what I'm going to share with you are my top tips for both transformation and retention. Real quick, for those who don't know me, I run a community called Web Designer Pro. I help web designers build and grow and scale a lifestyle business. So I don't teach agency owners who want a big, complex business. I'm very much a freedom-focused entrepreneur. I was a web designer for 10 years and built up a web design business, and that's what I teach on. And I also host the Web Design Business Podcast, which is important because it's my #1 lead generator for my community. So this is what I do on the professional side of things. I'm sharing a little bit about my family because my schedule and my day-to-day and my family life and my priority of being freedom focused is what I have crafted my membership community around. So I did not build Web Designer Pro to be a large scaled community. It's actually quite small because I wanted to be a balanced entrepreneur. So this is really, really important, I think, for you to think about your lifestyle and making sure your community revolves around your lifestyle. Because I will tell you this, community building can take over your life. And because I have 3 young kids and 2 golden retrievers who I got to keep track of and a beautiful wife, I needed to make sure they were the priority. So keep that in mind as we move forward. So this is my community, Web Designer Pro. This is a look at the website. You can go to webdesignerpro.com if you want to check it out live and hear from some of the members. This is a look on the back end. In our circle, we have a space called Inspiration, where I love featuring a lot of members who are killing it. And it's important to know that this membership, again, is small. We actually have notoriously always had between 250 and 300 members total. So it is not a large community, but I want to share our current stats. And actually, before we do that, it's important to know also that we now have a tiered community. I run Web Designer Pro and have built it off of what I call the 3 C's, which are courses, community, and coaching. It started off just with all of these under one coaching tier, but last year at this time, we split it off into tiers. Those price points are currently $49 a month or $499 annually. For courses, community is $99 a month and $999 annually. And then coaching with me personally is $200 a month or $2,000 a year annually. So this is important because as we look at the current stats, we are now a tiered membership. But as I mentioned, we grew it largely as a 1-tier membership. And in 5 years, I launched Web Designer Pro back on November of 2020. Our revenue is over 817,000 with, again, a small membership size. And today we are sitting at 327,000 annual recurring revenue. I'm sharing this because when you think about a membership that is knocking on the door of being $1 million membership, you probably think you need to have like thousands of members, but that's not the case. Depending on your price points and depending on the experience you want to craft, you can do it with a very reasonable amount of members, especially if you focus on retention. So that's really what we're going to dive into. Another important thing before we jump in is I do not have a community manager. This membership is me. I run all of it. Now, we do have some members who are kind of like community members or managers in some way, and yes, I have a team who helps me with my podcast and some tech and VA stuff, but I do not have anyone under payroll for Web Designer Pro. It's just me. So I'm here to tell you it can be done, and I'm excited to share some of the top thoughts on that. Now, here is a look at my actual revenue growth chart for Web Designer Pro. And there's a few things I want to point out here. I'm actually really glad I caught a lot of Ali Abdal's chat, because I think what I've learned in growing my membership in 5 years is a testament to this. And actually, Alexis was just talking about the move from like member growth to more retention. This is what I've experienced with Web Designer Pro. We had a very, very large growth period. And then, as I mentioned, the membership was previously just one tier. It was just coaching for $200 a month or $2,000 a year. And then we got to the point where I was just at capacity with coaching. So I shifted to tiers at fall time last year of 2024. Since then, now what's important to note is that was intentional. And yes, my revenue over the past year has, you could say, flatlined, but I'm okay with that because I got time back. So there was a trade-off in the growth that we had in my community. And that is because I was coaching every member and it was very time intensive. And I did, get sucked up with bandwidth. But since moving to the tiered model, I've been able to even that out and free up way more time. So I'm excited to do the next summit, because we'll look at phase 3 of my community, because I do have growth plans, but I want to make sure I don't sacrifice my time. So I'm sharing this with you because this is not uncommon for memberships, that you have a large growth period and then you kind of come to a crossroads where you got to figure out, do you want to continue to grow? And depending on what that looks like for you and the size of the membership, you may be in growth mode or you may be in sustain mode. For me, I got to the point where I just wanted to sustain, because I don't have payroll and because my business is a simple business. I didn't need to have growth for growth's sake. I got to the point where we were sitting at anywhere between $25,000 and $28,000 a month in MRR. And I'm like, that's good. It's not my only revenue stream. This is the bulk of my business, but I do sponsors and some other content, and that we're doing events with Web Designer Pro. So this was good. Like, I got to the sustainable pace and I was fine with keeping it there for this year. So I just wanted to say, like, you don't need to just go up and to the right just for the sake of going up and to the right. And I will answer all your questions on this. So real quick, we're going to dive into 3 transformation strategies that helped us get to this point with Web Designer Pro. And then I'm also going to share 3 retention strategies. Side note, all transformation strategies are retention strategies. So what we'll do is I'll dive into the first 3, transformation. We'll take a quick pause for questions on that, and then we'll dive into retention strategies, and I will make sure I have plenty of time to answer your questions. By the way, I'm seeing a ton of Web Designer Pros in the chat. Good to see a lot of my crew here today. And man, almost 2,000 people. Let's get into it. So number 1, real quick, tag me. I am on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook and YouTube. My handle is at Josh Hall Co. I want to give you my blessing that if you see something here that you would like to share on social media, post it, tag me. I would love to hear from you. I will make sure I'm very active for the coming weeks. So first transformation strategy is to remember first impressions. Guys, I'm telling you, this is everything. Transformation and retention. Retention starts right here at the first impression. Some of this has already been talked about. The trends report that Alexis just shared with you gets into this a little bit, it looks like. But one thing I've done for years that I will continue to do until the day I die as a community builder is I will send new members a personal video. Now, again, this is why I personally like having a smaller community, because I can send 2 to 3 or 5 of these a week, and it's very manageable. Whereas if you're doing a membership that's thousands of people, of course, it's going to take a different approach. But if you have a small community, I highly, highly, highly recommend you send a personal video to new members. I have so many members of my community that got videos from me 5 years ago who still talk about it today. It was that transformative. And anybody here live who's a member of my community, Web Designer Pro, feel free to jump in the chat and let everyone know like what that first video means to you. Now, once you get to a certain point, you can go at a different route than just sending like a personal video. I do it via Loom, but one thing I'm doing now is I have an automation that goes to new members of my community. And then when like with a personal, just like a generic video that says, hey, reply back, and then I'll send you a personal reply. That's another way you can do it if you get to capacity. So For nearly 5 years, I sent every single new member an actual Loom video that said, "Hey, I'm Josh. It's only 1 to 2 minutes. Welcome into Pro. Checked out your website. Love seeing what you're up to. Let me know what questions you have. Let me know your goals, and we'll go from there." Now I have, with the community tier, an automated DM that says, "Hey, welcome to Pro. Hit me back with your goals," and then I'll personally reply. So it's like a personal follow-up versus a personal video introduction. So there's a couple different ways you can do it, but I would definitely recommend that. As I mentioned, I'm going to go pretty quick through the slides. So we're not going to cover everything in detail. I will make these slides available. In fact, I will put them in the chat for you once we're done here, and then I'll make sure the Circle team has these moving forward. So first impressions, transformation tip number 1, personal videos, the best way to go. Number 2, as this was already talked about, people don't want more information. They want a result. So when you're thinking about transformation, my question for you is, how can you give people a clear path based off of where they are in their journey? Now, this is pretty easy for me because I'm serving web designers. And what we found out over the years in building Web Designer Pro is we really serve members in 3 categories. They're new web designers starting and building their business. I call those builders. We have most of the members who fit in what we call the grower category, which is where they have a business and maybe they're making 20, 30, 40, $50,000 a year, but they want to get to 6 figures. I consider them a grower. And then we have scalers. Scalers who are folks who are like legitimate agency and studio web agency owners who are at 6 or multi-6 figures and have a small team, and they just want more high-level coaching and more high-level strategies. All of these profiles, we call them, work together, which is really cool because the growers help the builders, the scalers help the growers, the builders learn from them, but also scalers can learn from builders because builders are experimenting and trying new tools. So in most communities, you'll probably have a mix of people who are newbies, advanced, and then absolute pros. So I have pathways for each one of these folks. We give them direction. We make sure they get quick wins depending on, whether they should go through certain courses that I have or whether we get them connected in certain events that are going on in Pro. So my just overall recommendation is that you figure out what success pathways work for you and your community. This is what works for us, for builders, growers, and scalers. And I will answer any questions you have on that. And then my third tip for transformation, this is probably not a shocker, but in person. This is awkward because we're talking about building an online community, but if you can take your online community into an in-person community, it's where it's at. It's the bee's knees. We had our first Web Designer Pro conference earlier this year, and 40 members from all over the States and some members in Canada came, and it was freaking awesome. I'm still buzzed up from it several months later. It was absolutely incredible. So the way we foster connection in Web Designer Pro is we have a couple different styles of online group calls. For those in the coaching tier, we have coaching calls with me weekly. And then we have a weekly member hangout where all community members of Pro can just get together and hang out here. Those are really good. That's good. It's great stuff. But what's even better is getting these people in person. So we have 2 styles of in-person meetups. We actually have member-led meetups. So this is one that happened recently in Atlanta with 4 members from Web Designer Pro. And what we say is for members who know there's members around their area, we actually encourage folks to host a member meetup. It could be at a coffee shop, at a restaurant. They're usually anywhere between 2 to 3 to sometimes 6 or 7 members. And they're awesome. And they create this like micro member retention with these little member meetups. But then you have like your community events, your conferences. And this is where, again, depending on how big your community is, this will look different. For us, with a 300-person membership altogether, the 50th people range for an event is kind of perfect. Above 50 people becomes something different. So we're going to do our darndest to stick with, 50 people live. Maybe eventually it'll be bigger. But yeah, I'm seeing in the chat, Alexia was there live. Some other folks were there live. It was absolutely transformational. So in person, really think about merging online into in-person with whatever works for you. For us, our online calls or coaching calls with me, which are more group style coaching, and then member hangouts, and then in-person meetups led by members, and then our in-person conference, which is now annual. So those are my top 3 tips for transformation. Let me tease you real quick with this slide. And if you're going to take anything away from my presentation, it's this. Real retention starts when members say, my community. If you're multitasking, come back to me real quick. If you feel like screenshotting anything in this presentation, do this one. Post it in your office, above your fireplace, wherever you want to put it. Real retention starts when members say, my community. That's what we're going to dive into next. Alexis, how are we doing? Is there anything you want to address, or should I dive into retention?
I'd say keep going. You're killing it.
Okay, here we go. I want to make sure we leave time for questions. So let's dive into my 3 retention strategies. The first retention strategy is, especially with this idea of people feeling like it's my community. It's not just a community, it's my community. You got to give them some feeling of ownership. So there's a few different ways we do this with Web Designer Pro. The easiest way is swag. So yes, it helps that my brand is something that looks cool on a shirt and is really recognizable. It's actually kind of funny because the name Web Designer Pro has become a lead generator for a lot of members. Megan right here actually got a $5,000 website job just by taking her dog to the vet, wearing her Web Designer Pro shirt. And they were like, oh, you do web design? We need help. So swag is the easiest low barrier way to entry to give your members some sense of ownership. I use a site called Printful. I would check it out. It's awesome. They do on-demand printing for however much swag you want to create. And there's a variety of different ways you could do this. You can send members swag if that's cool with you, or you could just offer it to members. We tend to just use swag as bonuses. And then I always recommend people when they join Pro, I let them know there's a discount for members to buy our Pro swag. And then we're sharing more and more stories on that. Another thing I would really recommend doing, and this was brought up with the trends report that Alexis just shared, but when you're getting member wins, don't sit on those. Share those. Share those publicly with permission, of course. And I'll show you how we do that here next. And then if you have any sort of training or curriculum in your community, absolutely don't sit on certifications. Or like one thing we're considering is once people go through all my courses, being like Web Designer Pro certified. So that's something you can look at doing as well. So here's a couple examples of ownership on how we've helped members own their community, Web Designer Pro. As I mentioned, the swag, this is a picture of 5 members from Web Designer Pro who went to an event together last year. I wasn't even there. It wasn't an official Web Designer Pro event. It was just 5 members out in Oregon who met up together, all wearing their Pro swag. And there was a like micro sense of community here, largely because they're in Pro, but also because they're all repping swag. Something we did recently, because Pro just turned 5, is we actually created a shareable template that was celebrating 5 years of Web Designer Pro. And this is one of our members, Leanne, who did it. And she's a scaler, so that's kind of her profile. And every one of the members who posted this had a chance to share their experience in Web Designer Pro. And because these are web designers, what was kind of cool is these members were able to send a signal to their clients that they are leveling up and they are investing in themselves. And I know Leanne on her post on LinkedIn said that she loves feeling supported, and she's built a network of like partners and a support system. And she's staying on top of trends in web design just by being a part of Web Designer Pro. So one thing you could consider is doing something similar with your community. Create like a shareable asset. This is just a Canva template that celebrates 5 years of Pro. And I just encourage members to, do their thing, post it on their socials, tag me, and then share your experience. And other members love this, by the way, who were doing this. So I know there's some good chat in the chatter in the chat right now from members who were doing this. As I mentioned, we have 3 types of members: builders, growers, and scalers in Web Designer Pro. So I actually allow members with their custom profile fields in Circle to select where they are in their journey. So it's kind of cool because some people are builders like Devora right now, but then once she gets to a certain point, she'll be a grower and then she can change her profile, and you can automate this too. So it kind of sends a signal to show, and actually in Circle, you can filter like who are the scalers. You can see who has a six or multi six figure business. It's really, really cool. And then the last thing we've done here too is we made a little section here I recommend all web designer pros have on their website the Web Designer Pro logo and a little saying that just says staying up to date on web design industry trends, or I'm a part of an incredible web design community with their handsome leader, whatever they want to say in their little website footer section, we make it on there. And because we have an affiliate program, thanks to Circle natively in Web Designer Pro, it's their affiliate link. So if anyone sees this and joins Pro, they also feel some ownership because they're getting recurring revenue with affiliate money. So those are some ownership examples. Take what you will, think about it, do what works for you. This is kind of a next level to this, but it is really just drilling into how can you make your community their community. Again, I can't stress this enough. You have to make your members feel like this isn't just a community they're a part of. It's their community with real transformation and real retention. So one of our members, Sam, he did the 5-year post, and I don't have his image here, but his post, this was the post that went with his. He said a few things here that were really interesting, and I'll drill into it right here. He said, Web Designer Pro has paid off in so many ways. Great entrepreneur friends, wisdom from people with other specialties. Hey, Michelle's here live. And I even have a member of my team from Pro. Now, what he said here is really interesting because when I think about retention, is there any better way to retain a member than for them to find their people, their friends in the community? That's a great number one. Number two, not only did he meet friends, but he met partners. Michelle, who's here with us live, is an SEO expert. She is my SEO guru. And a lot of Pro members hire her and look to her as their partner for advanced SEO and copywriting and keyword research. So friends and partners. And then as you see here, Sam met another Pro member, Eleanor. They just hit it off. They were really good compliments to each other. And she recently joined his team because his agency is growing like wildfire. So friends, partners, team members, those three categories of people, if you can foster those in some way in your community, that will help with retention so much. You can do that by highlighting member wins, sharing their stories, creating spaces where members actually collaborate. We have a space in Pro for Pros for Hire, and the one where you can share your zone of expertise so people can look for, in our case, SEO people or WordPress people or Squarespace people. And then we make sure that members have avenues to share their expertise in Pro. So a couple examples, we have a space for wins and successes. If there's anything you guys do today in your community, make sure you have a space for wins and successes. I'm going to say that again for anyone who's multitasking. If there's anything you're doing right now today that you want to give a big boost in your community, make sure you have a wins and successes space, because this is like the lifeblood of Web Designer Pro. So many members post their wins, and it's a great way to build authority for some members, but also to see what's possible. And then other members get results because they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I could do that. Let me try that out. They get a result. It just adds to retention. Something else we do as well is we do guest workshops in Pro, usually once a month. Alexia, who is here with us now, who's actually come on board with me as on retainer for my graphic design, who helped actually create the slides for this. She had an amazing launch to her web design business, and I was so impressed by it. We did a podcast episode together, and then she actually did a live workshop inside of Web Designer Pro sharing her expertise. By the way, if you guys want to know something that Circle does well, it's this very thing. What I'm doing right now, sharing what's working for Web Designer Pro as a community builder, is what I stole from them to do with my members for Web Designer Pro. You want to find out what's working with people who have boots on the ground, so share that in your community as well. Earlier, we looked at the inspiration space we had in Pro, where I feature members who are killing it. And then Sam, who you just looked at, has expertise in SEO. He's actually done live training, has become a pro partner, and has a little sister community to Web Designer Pro that just focuses on SEO. So we actually have really entered in the partnership realm with members who in Pro who are really killing it in one specialized area. All right. And then finally, this is very underrated, and it is the idea of rejoining as retention. Now, when somebody leaves, one thing I've learned is it doesn't mean that they're never going to come back. And I think a lot of community builders sleep on this because, yes, when somebody leaves, it'll show as churn on your numbers. But when they rejoin, I would actually still consider that retention. And what's funny is this year, we've had so many members of Pro rejoin. And it's been really, really interesting. I don't know if that's because of the tiers. I don't know if it's because we had our live event and people were feeling FOMO and they wanted to get back in it. I don't know if it's because I've done a better job at sharing wins and successes and doing everything I've shown you so far. But don't sleep on rejoining as retention. So practically, one way I do this is I have an automated email that goes out when a member cancels Pro. And this is it. I sent this to one of my first members and I got a lot of good feedback. So I just made it the template that is literally something I have not changed in 5 years. And this is the template. It says, "Hey, Josh here. Just wanted to check in personally with a couple of things. First, I saw you stepped out of Pro, but I hope you got some awesome value from the courses, the calls, the community." And then I make sure that I let them know I would love to hear your feedback on why maybe it wasn't a good fit for you. And then I make sure that they know I'm making Pro better and better. And even though you just left, you can have a hand in that. So it also signals to them that, maybe Pro, maybe for whatever reason isn't a good fit now, or maybe I'm tough on finances, or I'm in a personal season, but I know that it's going to get better and better. So maybe in 6 months, man, it could be even better. So I send this out and then I just let them know I always welcome to rejoin. Now, I take a more organic approach on this because it's a smaller community and the response rate on this is incredible. This is literally one that just went out a few days ago. And then this member said, "I've canceled it for now because I don't have time to take the courses, but I plan to be back in January." So you could absolutely automate this and say here's an offer for a temporary discount or a trial or something special. I tend to do this more organically. Like for her wanting to rejoin in a couple months, I'm going to tell her I'm actually running a Black Friday offer for all annual plans on Web Designer Pro. So instead of waiting to January, now may be a great time to jump back in and you could commit to the whole year. So you could take an organic or automated approach on this, but the idea is to focus on rejoining just as much as joining, because just because somebody leaves doesn't mean they're gone forever. Also, if they're connected on your socials and your newsletter, and if you have a podcast, keep on talking about your community because that will help people want to rejoin. So, quick recap. The 3 transformation strategies before I take questions. First impression, it's everything. I recommend a personal video. Success pathways, number 2. Make sure you give people a clear roadmap to follow to help, especially quick wins with transformation. Number 3, focus on in-person. Small meetups and then larger community events or conferences. It's worth investing your time and money in. Retention strategies, ownership, help people give that feeling of ownership. Number 5, help them not join a community, but their community. And then as we just talked about, rejoining is just as important as joining. If you would like to connect with me, I will make these slides available. If you don't know this, if you've ever Googled circle videos or circle tutorials, you may have seen some of my videos. I have a growing number of circle related videos on my YouTube channel. Go to joshhall.co/circle stuff, and that'll point you right there. And you can check out some of my circle videos. It's all free. It'll help you build your circle and show you some of the stuff that I'm doing in Web Designer Pro. And just to note, my personal site is joshhall.co. And if you want to see what my community is up to, you can go to webdesignerpro.com. All right. I am happy to answer any questions you guys have for me.
I love it. Thank you so much, Josh. That was great. Loved how you looked at it through obviously transformation and growth mixed with retention, because they have this very tight relationship, and lots of love for all the examples in the chat. Let's get into some questions. So Jenny asked, I'm going to spotlight it here. How do you ensure that scalers want to stay in the same community as builders and growers? We see this often when you're in an evergreen membership. People will grow, evolve, and obviously like up level in different ways. How do you optimize for that and make sure that everybody's still getting a valuable experience, even if they're at different stages in their journey?
Yeah, it's such a good question because it's really a matter of how do you keep newbies and advanced people together. Um, what we found is if transformation is working right, newbies are going to get results really quick. And in an ever-changing world where technologies are moving so fast, what I found is scalers tend to get kind of locked in with their tool stack and they're not learning as much. So you get kind of just stuck in your stuff. The growers and the builders are generally like on the cutting edge of what's new. So at least in my world in web design, the scalers are actually now learning from the folks who were early on when it comes to like AI and web design and new tools and new stuff where we're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was around. So that's a part of it. I think another part is if you can help the newbies find a zone of genius or specialty, they can actually become an expert in one area really quick. Because scalers tend to be experts in a lot of different areas, but then, they could still learn from the newbies. So that's what's worked for Web Designer Pro.
I love it. Next question from Alan. What has been your experience with having a free tier, and what in general would you offer there? And there was actually lots of questions in the chat and in the Q&A box around the free tier. So any information you can share on your experience there would be great.
So I apologize if it was misleading. I don't have a free tier. Our courses tier is $49 a month or $500 a year. So what I would say, I honestly would not have a free tier.
Me either.
In any membership. Yeah. What I would do is have because my podcast, like so much of my content is free between my podcast and my YouTube. So, aside from like live Q&As I might do on YouTube or a free workshop, it's like, guys, if you want anything else, you got to pay me for it. So but I do like having a starter tier, like a low end tier, especially if it's just information. For me, it's like helping people learn web design and build their business, just the foundation, and then they can come to the community. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend a free tier. It doesn't mean that you may not have some sort of free offers, but I would be careful of having it in your paid community. I would have it separated at the very least on some sort of adjacent free offer.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not the biggest fan of free. I think a way to potentially give something for free so people can understand what you're offering is you can offer a free trial. I know that a lot of Circle customers use our free trial feature. You could give someone a 7-day trial, 14-day trial, but that way they can see inside the community and test it out. But then obviously like it's not free forever. So
yeah,
I think that's another way that you can kind of scratch that free itch without needing to create a lot of additional content and resources and support to support a free thing whenever you're probably already creating a lot of free content already.
And one thing I'll say too is free can also be a bonus. So to a paid product. So one thing I did to help that growth period in Pro was I would sell like a mini course or one of my products for like $27 or $97. And if you purchased, surprisingly, they would get a free trial of Pro that's 30 days. So that's something that I did that worked as well, which is like you have to be a paying customer at some point to get a free trial.
Okay, love that. Another question from Greg. Do you have a weekly or monthly calendar that you can share? Would love to see the cadence of all the moving parts. This was specifically from your conversation around designing your community where you didn't need to spend as much time in it.
Yeah, so if we look at our calendar events, it's not massive. I do a coaching call for all coaching tier members every Tuesday, usually at 11 a.m. or 2 p.m. Eastern, because we're a global community, so I try to scoop everybody up. I do a monthly Q&A session with all members. I currently take questions first in Web Designer Pro and then stream it on YouTube. But in 2026, I'm just going to do this inside of Web Designer Pro. So all community members will at least have a Q&A once a month. And then on Thursdays, we have our weekly hangouts, which are member led. So every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, we have member hangouts. They range from 5 members to sometime 15 plus members. We're on the verge of breaking these out into 2 hangouts to scoop more members up. But this is the call cadence. And then we have an upcoming workshop with a guest training in a couple weeks here. We do that once a month or once every other month. So all together, coaching members who get everything have the option for like 6 to 8 calls a month. But if you're in the community tier, you don't get the coaching calls. So yeah, that's kind of how we run it. So it's not overwhelming. I do think past that, it's like, you really probably need to do it in segments and have different levels of calls. Yeah.
Okay. Love it. Question around the IRL. There were lots of questions around this actually. Hold on. Let me see if I can spotlight this. There we go. Teresa, our business actually starts with building community in person, and we want to be able to transfer the sense of belonging and connection to online afterwards, but aren't sure how exactly to build that. We have a circle, but people aren't using it. They probably aren't like coming from the IRL into the online. There were several questions about this experience of like, we want to offer both. How do we make that really clear? So I feel like this is a nice intro into this discussion, Josh.
So it was different for us because we were online for over 4 years and then went in person with the big event. But one thing we did was I surprised everybody who went to the in-person event with an online call, a group call together. And that, like, almost everyone showed up for that group call. It was really cool. So if you're going from in-person to online, I would, do like some sort of virtual event, whether it's just an open group call or some sort of workshop that brings you back together. That's probably the easiest way to keep that going. And then you can kind of get into more of the tactics with transformation and retention.
Yeah, something else that I've seen work is when you're building out IRL in real life, when you're building out IRL programming, there's a way that you can say, hey, the event schedule is going to live inside of Circle. Like, so there's ways that you can kind of pull people from the consistency of IRL into, if you want to know the agenda or if you want to RSVP, you actually have to do that in this platform. And it's a way to kind of teach your members how to start like step by step getting into an online platform for their community. And I think there are ways that you can try to maybe send less emails or send less event pages, and you could host those inside of a community platform.
I should say one thing we did was we had a group chat inside of Pro. So everyone who attended and bought a ticket got automatic access to the group chat, which was only in Pro. So it did keep them like digitally in Pro while we were literally in person together.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, next question. What platform do you use, and how do you get people to a new platform apart from WhatsApp or messages that they already use?
I use a platform called MemberPress. No, I'm just kidding. I use Circle. I use Circle. Of course I use Circle.
I was like, Josh, what are you talking about?
That Circle is the freaking best. Yeah, it's unmatched. Circle is absolutely unmatched. And yeah, we're using it for everything. We're using it for all of our calls. We're using it for events. We're using it for the private chat spaces, for event chat spaces. I use Circle for everything. Yeah, so I don't use WhatsApp or anything additional. We don't use Zoom for anything else. It's all Circle. Yeah. One-stop shop, baby.
I love it. I love to hear it. I love the bait and switch there. You almost got me. I was like, excuse me. But how do you get people to use it? How do you get them to use a new platform?
Luckily, I think Circle is becoming so popular that it's at least people know about it. And there's more circles. Like, I'm a part of multiple circles now, so it's becoming more familiar, which is good. Email, which luckily Circle has email marketing in there. What I found is with Web Designer Pro, I'm still sending people emails with reminders about calls. And with our coaching calls, I've always had a email that goes out that is live now. I'm shocked about how many people click on the live now link. So even though they get reminders, they RSVP, they probably got another reminder. I hit them again with a separate email that says, hey, we're live now for this week's coaching call. So I would just make sure to continue to use email, like outside of just your Circle notifications. And then don't be afraid to on your other platforms, social media, podcast, email, newsletter, whatever, talk about the membership and keep it going. Just say like a lot of times I'll be like, next week we have a guest training inside of Web Designer Pro. I'll do that publicly, not just to members, but also publicly. And a lot of people have said, like, I joined because I wanted to hear that training or that workshop.
Yeah, every live workshop, whether it's member led or from you, is a very natural opportunity to market the community because people want, to be a part of it. And hey, it's gated. You have to be inside the community to access that kind of content.
And you never know when a member is going to turn off their notifications, either intentionally or accidentally. So like, if somebody's like, I'm so sick of emails, they do, select all, unsubscribe, but they're still a paying member. Well, you want them to still see more about your community in a separate email list or your other channels. So yeah, hit them everywhere. Everywhere.
I got a question. How do you get members to check in to the membership on a weekly basis, giving them a notification to remember to check in? Like, this kind of speaks to any rituals that you've built inside the community that, when someone joins a community, I always say it's similar to someone building a new habit. So they're investing in the membership month over month, but they also need to have this like habit formed where they go to the community and really get the most out of it. So what's your experience been building that?
So pretty much everything I covered in this workshop helps with this.
Yes.
Transformation tips and retention tips. Specifically, we do challenges 2 to 3 times a year, which is like a community wide, like, hey, we're going to, everyone's going to do an email newsletter. You're going to start, or you're going to do a revenue boost. Or last year that we did like a 30-day workout challenge for people who wanted to start the year off strong. So there's things you can do like that add a little bit of excitement. You could also, if you have courses, you could do like a live cohort based off one of your courses just to re-engage members. So those are some strategies, but honestly, like if people are getting transformation and they're getting wins and they're meeting people, they're going to come back. And it kind of goes back to the big idea of like, if it becomes, my community, yes, you'll build that habit because it's their community. It's like where they're learning. It's where they're getting supported. It's where they're getting inspired, where they can connect with their partners and their friends and their colleagues. So all those things kind of play into that.
I love it. Next question. You mentioned not having a community manager. Do you think that with the appropriate systems in place, things will run smoothly and one isn't necessary, at least for more intimate sized communities?
I do. Yeah. And it's tricky too, because if your community is like a side hustle, I could understand needing a community member. This is my main thing. Community can be all encompassing, which is why like your call schedule, the experiences, how big it is, it really does have to revolve around your lifestyle, which is, why I started out with that. But absolutely, I think if it's a more intimate community, and by intimate, I mean probably anywhere between 50 to 300 members, I would consider a small community. It can absolutely be a one man or one woman show. I mean, it's doable. And again, it depends on the level of like high touch that you're personally going to do. So, I would structure that around you, but yeah, you can get really far. My goal would be for everyone to get as far as you can as a one person show before hiring extra community, because then it feels like, community managers are a must at some point, but there's something about the leader being the point of contact, especially nowadays.
Yeah, I would agree. Last question before I want you to share where folks can continue connecting with you, join your community and all of that. This has been one that's kind of popped up. And it's also probably because you mentioned the IRL events and having the conference. But if the product is combined, meaning it's both digital and physical, both like, IRL and URL, how can it be best to position it so that it's clear, given that it contains a lot of context? You have to kind of sell this whole vision. It includes this and this and this. So sometimes there can be almost like offer creep, where you're like, your offer just starts getting more and more bloated.
So I'll just show you the website, just because this is what we've landed on. And cut me off, Alexis, if you need to boot me off here. But
no, you're good. Yeah, no, go ahead.
We revamped the website just because of this issue. It used to be just a one-page site that had like everything on there, and it was so much. So what we did more recently is, because I have 3 tiers: courses, community, or coaching. we created pages that now specifically get into community. So like this walks through the experience of pro as a community member. Here's what's waiting for you as a community member. And this is really, the focus is on all of our community features. Whereas the coaching page is a little more focused on coaching with me. And yes, you get the community features, but it goes a little more into like what you'll experience as a coaching member versus courses. If people just want to learn, here is what you'll get in the courses tier, which is literally just access to my courses and a few other resources. They actually don't see the community tiers at all, or the community spaces at all. So in this case, what I would do is, I'm a web designer, so I'll give you guys some free website advice. Make your homepage more of the hub that is like the high level, and then drill down into other pages for the detail on your tiers. So here, people can go into courses or community or coaching, but if they happen to stay on the homepage, they see our tiers right here with what's included. So that's what we've learned. That's what we're experimenting with that's helped with Pro.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. I am a visual learner. I know that a lot of people are as well. So anytime you can share exactly what's working, I know that's really helpful. Can you share where people can stay connected with you? Thank you so much for being part of the summit and being such an evangelist for Circle as well. But I've loved seeing the journey over the last 5 years of how much your community has grown, how it's impacted your life and your business. So from the Circle team, we love you, and would love for people to continue to follow you and kind of keep an eye on your work. And if maybe they want to join a web designer pro community.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you, Alexis. You guys are awesome. I love the Circle team so much. The platform has changed my life. Absolutely. So I'm happy to be such an ambassador for it. So, best place you can go, actually, if you want to see my Circle videos, go to joshhall.co/circle stuff. And that'll take you to my playlist on YouTube. You can connect with me there. I am active on all of these socials. I will give these slides in the chat next. So once I hop off, I'll post these slides if you guys would like to download them. And then, yeah, webdesignerpro.com if you want to join the community and check it out. My personal site is joshhall.co. So that's where I'm at. Would love to talk with you. And I love helping community builders, and I love helping people use circles. So
awesome. Thank you so much, Josh. Have a beautiful rest of your day. And for those of you that were here for all of Josh's session, or even just a little bit of it, drop your number one takeaway from Josh's workshop or the Q&A. I'm sure he would love to read what you took away from his session. Josh, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your afternoon, my friend.
all right, Alexis, thank you. Good seeing you. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, you too.